Oh, hi, Michael. How are you?
Well, hi, Mark. Fancy seeing you here.
I mean, this immediately is a taste of how different it can be when you're actually seeing us. People probably listening to the podcast don't picture us with things like halos and berets.
I think people would picture me with a halo, but they might not necessarily think of you as a Frenchman.
Actually, you're probably right. Yes, the
And
halo.
just in case you haven't spotted it, Mark does also have a beauty mark, which moves ever so slightly across his face when he turns his head.
It's very clever what they can do with computers and so on, isn't it, these days? And speaking of that, it's time to ask people for money.
Oh, yes, I'm really bad at this, but Mark's quite good at prompting us. Hello. Well, if you're here, you're on Patreon already. This is where we live now, apparently.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm good at this. It's just, as I've just said off air, I didn't think I'd ever meet anyone more awkward about the business of trying to ask.
Right,
for funding.
well, let's get to it. Let's be businessmen. I've got a list of things here written down that I should say.
That's like a businessman would do. Come on, hustle, Michael.
Business people, Mark, please. Inclusive language here on our Patreon. Hello. You might realize that we are self-funded. We've said that quite a few times, but we fund the podcast. I say we. I don't personally do it, but Mark and his partner do. And we pay all of our guests, and we want to make sure that we're able to keep doing that and keep getting brilliant guests and keep making the podcast. And to do that, we need your help, don't we, Mark?
We do. We're not economists in this house, but it turns out that if you repeatedly put money into something without attempting to recoup any money from it, then you overall lose money. That's a sort of, I don't want to sound like a professor, but that's basically what happens, which is fine. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that because we have a company and everything. But yes, the long and short of it is the podcast is in order to sustain it, and especially to try and keep getting the calibre of guests that we do pride ourselves on having, we are, and also, actually, all these excuses aside, the main reason that we're setting up Patreon is that basically every podcast in the world has one, and I've seen people do it after like one episode because they're more sort of shameless than us. So it's time for us to develop a bit of that shameless.
Look, you can see Leanne's shoulder there. That's quite exciting. If you half a face there.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to the Patreon, you might see more of our producers, Leanne and Victoria, who do an incredible job of taking out all the ums and ahs and making us sound a lot more erudite than we are. So we would like to pay them as well because they are actually genuinely skilled, whereas we just sit and talk. She's got a thumb as well. Look.
If you like that shoulder and that thumb, you should see what you can see from where I'm sitting. I can see her whole face. That could be you if you get on board with the Patreon.
So we have 3 different price levels for our Patreon, but they will all get the same content because we're all about inclusivity and paying what you can. So the first layer is called Menkind, and that is £5. The second level is called Menkinder, which is £7. And then if you're the Menkindist, you can pay us £10 a month. And what will they get in exchange, Mark?
Well, did I hear you say they'll all get the same thing regardless of tariff?
You did. Tariff. That's a good word.
Thank you. I don't think I've said that I've probably never said the word tariff out loud. But again, the podcast is a voyage of discovery, linguistically and psychologically and emotionally, and now visually. Well, there are all sorts of things that we can and will offer, some of which we will make up as we go along. But for a start, extra stuff. I mean, one of the things that that everyone does with Patreon is to offer basically outtakes, stuff that didn't make it in, extra material, which when you look at some of our outtakes, I wouldn't have thought would encourage people to part with any money really, but some people do seem to like that sort of thing. So if you're interested in hearing the bits that weren't good enough to broadcast, then this is for you.
You won't have known, but the intros and the outros are often about 5 minutes long each, and they're brought down to about 30 seconds.
Yeah, if you wish the intros and outros were less agonising and circuitous, then once again, you're in for a treat. But we also will put. There's often extra stuff with the guests that we just haven't got room for, and we'll also make bespoke stuff with our guests, and also just with the two of us.
We're looking to do some exciting live events and things like that. So you'll be the first to find out about those, and we might do some exclusive like Menkind Mastermind games or anything like that. And we're happy for your suggestions as well. If you have any suggestions of what we could do that could be fun, please tell us because you are technically our employer, I suppose, if you support us.
Yeah, it's a strange thought, isn't it? But it's true. Yeah. So become the bosses of mankind, essentially.
Yes, if you would like to own us, now's your chance. You can do so for just £5 a month. Look at that.
This does feel like a slippery slope, but anyway, we've said it now.
Yeah,
so,
it's called like sugar daddies, isn't it? Are you the sugar daddy, or like are we sugar parents?
I don't know. I suppose we sit back and see what the nature of the requests is that come in, really. But in any case, so yes, mankind. Menkinder, menkindist, but actually that is not to imply that the people that pay more are better. They're just in a better position to do so, I guess.
Right, yes. And we also know that not everybody can afford to do so. So please don't worry if you can't. Just give us 5 stars. Or, as Mark said quite eruditely last week, fuck off.
You know, again, I think that was more of a kind of behind-the-scenes catchphrase that we hatched rather than something that we share with our beloved.
You're gonna see how much of a monster Mark actually is on this Patreon.
Yeah. All right. So the take-home message, as they say these days, is support our Patreon or fuck off. And I don't think that's at all off-brand for us or our podcast.
And we're not very good at ending these things. I'm just going to stop it now. Goodbye.
I think it probably is time to just shut the laptops down, yeah?